Welcome back to Switch Game List. Ever wanted to fight gods with a frying pan, negotiate with demons in post-apocalyptic Tokyo, or hunt monsters between rounds of card games? These RPGs let you do exactly that. And trust me, they're wild. Hit subscribe because we're about to dive into some seriously unique games. I recently revisited Final Fantasy X, and it hits different now. The story follows Titus, who gets thrown into Spira, this world living under constant threat from a monster called Shin. What really got me invested was watching Yuna's pilgrimage unfold, and how everyone deals with their fate. The combat is classic turn-based. You can swap party members mid-fight, which adds some nice strategy. The sphere grid system let me experiment a lot with character builds, though honestly, some of that voice acting made me cringe, and the graphics definitely show their age in places. Eastward really caught me off guard. You control this quiet guy John and this energetic kid Sam through this post-apocalyptic world that somehow manages to feel warm and weird at the same time. John fights with a frying pan and bombs, while Sam uses these strange energy powers for puzzles. The pixel art absolutely blew me away. There's this city bathed in neon that just lives in my head now. The cooking system actually matters in combat, which was neat. Though, I'll be straight with you, there were times when the dialogue just dragged on and I found myself wishing they'd get to the point. Shin Megami Tensei 5 was a real wake-up call. One minute you're a regular student, the next you're trying to survive in a demon-filled Tokyo. What makes it interesting is how you have to negotiate with demons to build your team. Sometimes they join you, sometimes they just take your stuff and run. The game pulls no punches with its difficulty. I actually rage quit for a week after this one boss fight kept destroying me. But there's something about finally figuring out the right demon combination and strategy that makes the tough fights worth it.
Huh? Hey!
Super Mario RPG is such a weird experiment that just works somehow. It takes the familiar Mario world and turns it into this RPG where timing your button presses actually matters in combat. Teaming up with Bowser still feels kind of novel, and the humor really lands most of the time. They've updated the graphics from the SNES days, which looks nice, though some purists might miss the original style. The whole thing feels comfy, like revisiting an old favorite but with some new touches. Sea of Stars really nails that classic RPG feeling without feeling stuck in the past. You play these solstice warriors with sun and moon powers, fighting against this ominous figure called the Fleshmancer. The combat flows really well with the timed hits, and you don't have to worry about managing MP, which is refreshing. The way the day-night cycle affects both puzzles and exploration kept things interesting. Though the game is pretty linear, you're always being nudged toward your next destination. Still, the journey itself was memorable enough that I didn't mind too much. Hey, quick pause here. If you're enjoying this look at some of Switch's finest games, hit that subscribe button for more content like this. Let me know in the comments which of these games you've played or are excited to try. Now, let's continue with our lineup. Live Alive does something really different with its structure. You get 7 stories across different time periods, and each one plays like its own little game. The ninja chapter had me sneaking around avoiding fights, while the western chapter was all about setting traps to defend a town. I loved how each era had its own unique feel, though not every chapter hit the same highs. The prehistoric chapter barely has any words but tells a whole story, while I felt the sci-fi section could have been shorter. It's kind of uneven, but that's part of what makes it interesting. Pokemon Legends. Arceus finally shakes up the old Pokemon formula. Instead of being just another trainer, you're actually researching Pokemon in the wild, having to sneak up on them, dodge their attacks, and sometimes run for your life when a high-level Pokemon spots you. I can't count how many times an angry Ursaring sent me packing. The graphics won't impress anyone. Some areas look pretty rough, especially the ground textures. But the feeling of actually exploring and interacting with Pokemon in real time made me forget about the visual shortcomings. Octopath Traveler 2's day-night system adds this interesting layer to everything. NPCs change their behavior completely when night falls. Someone you could barter with during the day might be susceptible to theft at night if you're playing the thief character. The battle system really makes you think about breaking enemy defenses and managing your boost points for big attacks. Following 8 different stories simultaneously got confusing sometimes, and not all of them are equally engaging. But watching how they slowly weave together kept me hooked.
My turn. What to do?
Ni no Kuni captures that Studio Ghibli magic in the game form. The story follows Oliver, who travels to a magical world trying to save his mom. It nails that Ghibli emotional storytelling. There were moments that genuinely got to me. The combat system has you controlling Oliver while managing these creatures you catch and train. Sometimes it felt like I was just pressing buttons and hoping for the best during hectic fights. The game can get repetitive, but the world and story were charming enough to pull me through those rough patches.
Hey, proper tidy. Nice one, Ollie boy.
Jeepers creepers.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, our world is absolutely riddled with beasties, but keep that up and you'll have nothing to worry about. Right, let's get a move on, shall we?
Sure, Mr. Drippy, but where are we going?
Well, first off, we need to get you a wand.
But I already...
Tales of Vesperia definitely takes its time getting started. You begin as Yuri, this ex-knight who's just trying to recover a stolen item, and somehow that snowballs into this massive adventure about justice and privilege. The combat's pretty fun once you get the hang of it. You can chain together these flashy combos, and each character feels distinct to play. It took me a good few hours before the story really kicked in, but once it did, I was genuinely invested. Just wish it had gotten to the point a bit faster. The Witcher 3 on Switch is kind of a technical marvel, even with all its compromises. I know it looks blurrier and runs choppier than other versions, but having this massive world on a portable device still feels surreal. Playing as Geralt, taking monster contracts, getting wrapped up in political schemes, and losing hours to Gwent, it's all here. The frame rate definitely struggles in busy areas, and you can tell they had to dial back the graphics. But being able to play it during my commute made these trade-offs worth it for me.
Done drinking? Then fuck off. Don't want your kind here.
Dragon Quest XI's sticks to tradition, but does it really well. You're the chosen luminary fighting against a big evil force. Pretty standard stuff. The turn-based combat is straightforward with this neat pep system, where characters power up through battle. Being able to switch between modern and classic graphics was a cool touch. It's definitely a slow burn. Took me several hours before the story picked up steam. But there's something comforting about how it embraces its classic JRPG roots, without trying to reinvent the wheel. Hey, let me know what you think about these games. Maybe you've played some and have a different take, or maybe something here caught your eye. Drop a comment, let's chat about it. See you in the next one.